Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Wrap Up. My name is Riley and I am the host and I'm the CEO of Hardin Digital and Design. Happy to be back. Hope everyone listening has had a great start to the new year. It's been a busy first couple of days for us here at Hardin Digital and Design, but we're off and running in 2023. Today we're going to talk about LinkedIn and go over some tips to help maximize your following and maximize your engagement on that platform. It's a platform we don't talk about as much here on the Digital Wrap Up, but they recently put out some good tips directly from LinkedIn that I'm just going to kind of go over and give my insight to as well. But before we do that, I just want to touch base on a couple of things, go over some housekeeping like I always do. First off, excited to be back. Like I mentioned, first podcast of 2023 after taking a couple weeks off around the holidays. And then if you were following last week, if you're following our social media pages, you might have seen that had a rough start to the podcast in 2023, recorded an entire episode and found out that the audio just didn't record at all. So if you're listening right now, that means hopefully things are fixed. Did a test run earlier before recording this, but can never be too safe, I guess, after the mishap last week. Another fun thing, I guess, fun for me, I guess I didn't touch on it last week because there wasn't an episode last week, but finally got my on-air sign in the studio, which I've been wanting for quite some time, and I proceeded to leave it on for 36 hours last week when I was recording, so trying to kill the battery and lights already, but really just happy to be back in the swing of things, recording another episode, and taking a mini vacation / working vacation to Florida over the next couple of weeks, but the podcast will go on. Going to record a couple of episodes before I leave, so I don't have to worry about recording down in Florida. I originally kind of wanted to give maybe a cool background, give some scenic views of Florida while recording the podcast. Obviously, the audio makes things difficult. Can't sit outside and record a podcast or all you would hear is just wind the entire time. So just going to record a couple and post them over the next couple of weeks while I'm down there. I think that's kind of all of the housekeeping notes. So let's get into LinkedIn. So late last year, LinkedIn put out 15 tips for attracting followers to your LinkedIn page and kind of repurposed it for 2023 in specific. And they break it down by starter, intermediate, and advanced tips. So kind of things that you can do if you're new to LinkedIn or don't know much about organizing your page and creating content and things like that, and go all the way up to some more of the advanced and in-depth tips for how to really grow and expand your following on LinkedIn. I'm not going to touch on every single one of them. There's 15, but I will go over kind of the best ones in my opinion. And a lot of these tips, while specifically mention LinkedIn or this list of tips came from LinkedIn, a lot of this can apply to every other platform that you're on too. Maybe not as in-depth because profiles and pages and things aren't as in-depth as they are on LinkedIn, and different content limitations, things like that. But for the most part, a lot of them are pretty generic and basic that you can apply across all social media platforms. So let's go ahead and dive into it. The first, I think, 7 were kind of the starter tips for gaining new followers and optimizing. Well, the first one is be findable, draw traffic from outside LinkedIn. So talking about optimizing your profile, creating buttons on your website, just finding new ways to get people onto LinkedIn from other sources like Google or from your website. And they share some kind of optimization tips for your page specifically, And those are adding keywords to the beginning of your tagline, like your elevator speech. What are those keywords that when Google is referencing your LinkedIn page, what kind of keywords do you want them to pull from? Doing also the same keyword optimize your about section. So really go in depth and not just provide a one or two sentence mission statement in your about section. Really go into depth. You have a lot more flexibility with this about section than you do on all the other platforms. You have a lot more characters to work with. So really utilize those on LinkedIn. And make sure you completely fill out your business profile, including the about section, like I just mentioned, but include all the relevant links and details, the office, where your office is located, all these different things that can help your page be discovered when people are searching on Google for businesses like yours. There's so many different options that pop up when you search for marketing agency or things like that you really want to try. LinkedIn is almost like it's another web page for you that you can try and rank high in search results for. Outside of optimizing your profile, some things you can do for each post is really take advantage of the long form content option that LinkedIn is known for, where you can create long blog post even, or just very long in-depth post to your page where you get, that's kind of the content that LinkedIn is wanting or pushing for, is that long form content. You can obviously attach videos, add videos, and we'll talk about that later, but really don't just do the 140 or 280 character post all the time to LinkedIn. Mix it up, throw in a few paragraphs, really expand, and you can create longer blog post type blog form post. Geez, that was confusing. You can really create longer posts is what I'm trying to say on LinkedIn. So take advantage of it. The more keywords and information that you can throw in those type of posts, that individual post itself could pop up in a search result. So don't be afraid to use the long form content to your advantage. And really the last one that they talk about for optimization standpoint is something we'll talk about later on, is just posting frequently to make sure the search engines know you're relevant and you're creating new content constantly. So that's the first one. Pretty important, honestly. It's something that we look at when we work with new businesses, is just optimizing their profile pages across all platforms, make sure everything's up to date, because you want to be as discoverable as possible. Next one I'm going to touch on is, they call it be sticky, stay on brand. Make it easy to get noticed over and over again. Make sure you're using the same type of logo, type of colors, same logo, throw your logo in. And the big one for me is the tone of voice. If you're going to use we and us and the more relaxed and conversational tone of voice, then make sure you do it across every post. Don't just say today, don't mix it up between today we did blah blah blah, and then the next post be like Hardin Digital Design did this. If you want to stick to the more conversational type of wording for your post, make sure you use it across every post and don't kind of mix it back and forth. And honestly, you should be doing the more conversational type of posting anyways, because obviously people know it's Hardin Digital and Design or whatever your business is, just because they see your profile and your name above the post anyways. So you don't necessarily need to repeat it. It's just, yes, LinkedIn is more corporate and more business related, but across all platforms, be more conversational. That's what people will engage with and want to see. And then, like the last post or the last tip on the optimization side of things, the next tip goes into being consistent and posting content to your page regularly. This is the number one way to increase your following and increase your engagement across all platforms, not just LinkedIn, is posting regularly to help the search engines in this case, but also to help the algorithms on each individual platform recognize that you are an active and you are a legit page, so that they know to push your content to your followers, or maybe even suggested posts and things like that. If you're not posting a few times a week at a bare minimum, I usually say the gold standard is 3 posts a week at bare minimum, no matter what industry you're in, and you'll at least start showing up in front of more faces or on more screens. If you're not doing that, then you're really falling behind, and you're not utilizing social media to the best of your advantage. So it really, once you start posting consistently, have people liking your post and engaging with your post, leaving comments, sharing it, whatever, the algorithms will start recognizing, oh, this is important content. We want to push it to more and more people. It'll show up in more people's timelines, your followers' timelines, and things like that. So consistency is key when you're dealing with organic social media management. When you're not putting money into ads and things like that, that's the number one way to get your brand recognition out there, is just to show up consistently. Tip number 4, making use of video and visual content. I've said this for quite some time now. Obviously, video is the king of content on all social media platforms, whether it's long form video on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or just 30-second, 15-second clips on LinkedIn or TikTok and Instagram Reels. Video is the king of content, and that's absolutely true for LinkedIn as well. So you have the flexibility to upload the longer style videos, long form videos on LinkedIn like you can on YouTube and Facebook and things like that. So absolutely take advantage of it. Instead of a potentially super long blog post, if it's easier for you to record a 2.5 minute, 5-minute video on the same topic, then by all means do it. It doesn't have to be top-notch quality production or anything by that. If it's just you sitting in front of the computer and recording a video, that's great. And that's kind of like something that I started doing with one of our clients recently, is we started doing vlogs. And it's not necessarily like the big vloggers that you see on YouTube where they're out and doing a bunch of things, but it's just a couple times a week we sit down and have a Zoom meeting and record whatever he wants to talk about that day. And then I just do some quick editing, just throw his name in there and add a URL or something like that to show up on the screen. And then we just upload that to LinkedIn. And that's gotten a lot more engagement because, again, they're pushing more video content across all platforms. The next tip, I think all these starter ones, I said I wasn't going to touch on all of them, but these starter ones are really kind of the best ones and easiest to do. So I'm going to touch on all of these first 7 here, or maybe first 6. But the next one is be relevant. If you are a corporation or you're a business that has some thought leaders, CEOs or the owners who have been in the industry for a while and can really provide great insight into whatever industry you're in, take advantage of that. If you're a social media manager or you just happen to be the one posting on your LinkedIn account for your business, even though you're not a social media manager, get some input from those higher level executives or business owners or whoever it may be to tap into their insights and their resources about the industry, your business, whatever it may be, because LinkedIn is kind of a thought leadership platform where a lot of insight is shared between very professional, like very well-known professionals. It's kind of a place you go to almost learn more from your peers in terms of a business landscape or concept. So take advantage of those people. It doesn't have to necessarily be executives, but that's just an example. People who are well versed in whatever industry it is within your business, take advantage, record a video of them or have them write a longer post about something they're working on or just something on the top of their mind, whatever it may be. Just take advantage of those connections within your business. And the last one for the kind of starter tips is be engaging and responding to post comments. This is something, again, that applies across all social media platforms, but especially on LinkedIn. If somebody takes the time to read through your entire post or read through your blog post on LinkedIn, whatever it may be, and provide some insight or feedback back to you in forms of a reply or a comment, take the time to engage with them and show that you are showing up and you are responding and you are valuing their insight as well. Because a lot of times people ask thought-provoking questions on LinkedIn or just provide a lot of insight, and it sparks people to leave a comment, whether they agree with it, disagree with it, or have follow-up questions to an idea or something like that. Don't just let those comments go unanswered. At the bare minimum, if it's just, if there's not a lot to respond to a particular question or comment on a post, at least like the post, or there's a bunch of different interactions that you can do now on LinkedIn. At least do some type of interaction with the comment so that the commenter knows that you are showing up and that you are there. So those are the real basic ones, but those 6 in themselves can go a long way to increasing your engagement and increasing your following on LinkedIn. Next one, and this one, moving into kind of the intermediate tips. This one is something that I'm going to try and stop saying that it applies to all platforms, but this one really does, but even more so on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn allows, so tip number 8 in the list of 15 is encourage employee involvement. This one is pretty important because your employees are already able to tag or map their employment back to your business. So when they're posting and things like that, it shows up as if they have their tagline as works at Hardin Digital and Design or CEO at Hardin Digital and Design. So whenever they're engaging or interacting with people on LinkedIn organically themselves, they're already kind of showing off your brand a little bit anyways. So one, I guess that's the first step, is make sure your employees are accurately mapped and showing that they work at your business so that you can kind of get some free promotion there in itself. But make sure they're tagging your business and really encourage them to share the work that they're doing for your business on their personal pages, whether it's sharing your business pages post to their personal profiles, or encourage them to tag your page whenever they're making updates about things that they're doing in the workday or a big project they just completed, because that organic engagement, again, it's free, and it really encourages the employees to continue posting more, and hopefully, obviously, they enjoy working at your business and enjoy sharing the cool things that they're doing or the important things that they're doing. So encourage them to tag you and kind of humble brag about the things that they get to do for your business. It never hurts to kind of just have a conversation with your employees about engagement on LinkedIn and ways that you can help benefit both them and benefit the business side of things too. Those are kind of, we'll move on, I guess, to the next one, which is along the same lines of the thought leaders in your business, but also tap into thought leaders in the industry. And there's a couple different ways of doing that. It's either following some of their pages and interacting with them from the business account, or sharing thought leaders post from the business page, so that whatever good piece of advice or insight that they provide, if it's relevant to your industry, to your followers, to your business, whatever it may be, don't be afraid to interact with them and share those thought leaders posts from your business page. It can likely spark some potential conversation between that thought leader and your business, If you guys aren't already connected already, they'll get a notification. They'll see in their notifications that Hardin Digital and Design shared their post, and they might click on it and see exactly what you said about the post, expanding on their thought or their advice potentially. And that's just a great way to kind of make that connection as well. And the same kind of thing with customers and brand advocates. If they're tagging you in their post because they've done work with you, like we've done work with multiple businesses here in Tipton since we opened here, and if they tag us in their post, we're going to share it and kind of interact with it, leave a comment, share it, do all these different types of things from thought leaders or customers or brand advocates that are taking the time to tag you or create content specifically for you. It kind of all wraps back up into that engagement piece as well. But those are kind of a few tips wrapped into each other, but it's really just taking the time to show that you're active, you care if people comment or leave comments on your post. You're really showing up, and it'll just encourage more engagement down the road. I think that's really, looking at the rest of these here, the final tip number 15 in their quote unquote advanced section of tips is analyze your competitors' pages. This is a good thing to do because you can draw some inspiration from what they're doing on their pages, but absolutely by no means does that mean just copy everything that they're doing. It's good to maybe get some inspiration, but don't just flat out steal their ideas by chance. Especially if it's somebody local that's the same type of business as you, and you kind of just copycat their ideas. Likely somebody in the community is going to see it and share it with them. So yeah, definitely just don't plagiarize. That's the bottom line. But you can see what they're doing. Maybe are they posting more videos? Are their videos getting more engagement? Are they sharing more pictures of the people behind the scenes? The actual people who run the business, work in the business, the day-to-day people. People love seeing that across LinkedIn for sure. So kind of just see like what types of content they're posting, how frequently they're posting. Are they getting a lot more engagement than you? Why is that? Is that because of the content they're posting, or they're posting more regularly? And kind of just analyze and see what some of your competitors are doing in that broad sense, and not necessarily just steal their content per se. So those are the big tips for LinkedIn specifically. Some of these other ones that they mentioned are very, very specific and more in depth, launching follower ad campaigns and getting in with influencers and things like that, which are obviously great pieces of advice, but more in depth. Not everybody has the time to do these type of things or the resources to do these things. So hopefully this, 8 or 9 tips that I shared with you today can just spark some ideas of what you should be doing on your LinkedIn, and what you should be doing across the board on every platform. So that'll wrap up LinkedIn tips. And again, moving forward here with the digital wrap up, a couple more episodes, recording those today and tomorrow. You won't hear them for a couple more weeks as we get to Florida, but those will be coming out. And again, if you ever need help generating ideas of how to increase your following, or you don't have time to be doing some of these tips on LinkedIn or any of the platforms, and you need some help, feel free to reach out to us here at Hardin Digital and Design. We'd be happy to sit down in person or virtually and talk to you about how we can help grow your social media presence on whatever platforms that you're on. So send me an email, Riley@hardindigital.com, or visit our website, hardmandigital.com to learn more about all the services that we offer specifically for social media. And it's a wide range from full-time social media management to creating a strategy to just getting your accounts set up and optimized, like one of the first tips that we talked about here today. So if you need help, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to talk with you and see what your needs are. So that'll do it for today's episode of the Digital Wrap Up. I hope, again, everyone's having a great start to the new year and you've reached all of your goals on social media this year. Until next time, have a great week.